Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie and I usually do videos on fashion, beauty, and lifestyle favorites. But I'm taking the opportunity to do a few videos all about grief and loss. Now, if this is the first video that you're seeing in this sort of grief series, if you will, that I'm doing, the first video I published last week, I will link that up above and down below in the description box. That's a video all about the loss of my dad. We lost him to cancer, a very short battle with cancer, and I learned a lot from him, and that video was sort of a love letter to my dad. This video is sort of a love letter to my friends, and what I learned from the grace and just everything wonderful that I learned about grief and loss and how to support people from my own friends and family. It's things I wish I would have known long before, but unfortunately, sometimes it takes going through something devastating to really come away with brand new life lessons that you then carry on to other people in the future. Since the loss of my dad, I've had some really deep and meaningful conversations with friends. And through these conversations, I've learned that it doesn't just have to be like a grief of the loss of a person. It can be the grief of infertility or a divorce or a job loss or a friend of mine whose child was born with a severe visual impairment. At some point in our life, we're all going to go through something really difficult and need the support of our friends. And sometimes people just don't know how to be there for other people. And I'd like to think that it's not that people choose not to be supportive, but rather that people just don't know how to be supportive. Not everyone can do grief well. Grief is a really difficult thing to know what to say, to know what to do. I've mentioned the book Option B before. I can tell you in short that I think that this is a great book. Everybody should read it. I think it deserves a little bit more of a review than that, so I will do a separate review in the future on just this book alone. But I wanted to read this quote to you because this quote resonated so well with me, and me prior to losing my dad, this is everything that went through my mind when learning that someone was going through something difficult. When we hear that someone we care about has lost a job, started chemo, or is going through a divorce, our first impulse is usually, I should reach out. Then right after that impulse, doubt floods our mind. What if I say the wrong thing? What if talking about it makes her feel self-conscious? What if I'm overstepping? Once raised, these doubts are followed by excuses like, he has so many friends and we're not that close, or she must be so busy, I don't want to bother her. We put off calling or offering help until we feel guilty that we didn't do it sooner, and then it feels too late. I think the lesson is don't ever let doubt get to you. If you think you should do something, you should do something. So as that quote from Option B sort of suggests, sometimes we feel like, am I overstepping my boundaries? Am I going to bring up a wave of emotions? And I think saying something by far is better than not saying something, especially in the social media world where everything that we're going through is sort of posted on the internet. You kind of feel like everyone knows what you're going through. And so for someone not to say something, I think is almost stranger than if they did say something. So a really simple thing to say to someone could just be, hey, I've heard about your dad. I'm so sorry. I've been thinking of you. That's a great opener. You just sort of take their cue of if they want to discuss more about it. Another thing you could say if maybe a little time has passed and you haven't said something is just, I've heard about your dad. I'm so sorry. I haven't known what to say. That is a really real emotion, and I think is really helpful too, to just say that you don't know what to say, in fact. And I think that that's really raw and quite beautiful, honestly. Now, not everyone can come up with the perfect pairing of poetic words that puts comfort and warmth in our heart. I have a friend who always says exactly the right thing at the right time, and I wanted to share what she sent to me because it was just the perfect combination of both love and humor and honestly just the perfect thing to say. And I have her permission to read this to you. So shortly after my dad was diagnosed, she sent me a text because she was at work, but she sent me a text that said, I love you so much. I'm calling you as soon as I get out of work. I'm sad and I'm pissed too. We are going to fight, fight, fight. I love you. You are surrounded by love and support. Be strong. You are not alone, my dear, sweet friend. The words are so sweet that it still brings tears to me today. But I think the few key words that she added into that text that really gets me every time I read it is that you are surrounded with love and support and you are not alone. something about the words "you are not alone" is really comforting and reassuring that your friends are going to be there for you. And so that, to me, is literally the perfect thing to say. Another perfect text that she sent to me, and I don't remember when this was or what had happened, but she says, "I am here for any type of conversation you want to have. Angry yelling, distraction, humor, decorating and furniture, celebrity gossip, shit talking, praying. You choose. It'll be like the XM radio of friendship." It just made me feel so comforted to know that my friend was there for whatever I needed. If I wanted to cry on her shoulder or I wanted to watch Real Housewives with her. Okay, so maybe talking to someone face to face or coming up with the perfect words on the spot isn't your thing. Luckily, there are so many cards for this. Thank goodness. If you're local to Grand Rapids, go to Rebel Reclaimed. Not only is it the best gift shop in all of West Michigan, I feel, they have the best assortment of extremely specific cards for whatever situation you're going through, especially if that situation is a cancer diagnosis or the loss of a loved one. But I wanted to share with you the cards that I found specifically at Rebel Reclaimed are not just sold there, they're sold everywhere. They're the Emily McDowell cards, and you can follow her on Instagram. She actually is a breast cancer survivor. So this is like advice from someone who does know what to say, because God knows she's been through it. And so I'm not going to read all of these cards to you. I have a stack, but they're just so good. So this one says, "I promise to never refer to your illness as a journey unless someone takes you on a cruise." If you saw the first video, you know that laughter during difficult times to me, is everything. Please let me be the first to punch the next person that tells you everything happens for a reason. I'm so sorry you're going through this. I know #FuckCancer doesn't help get you through it. I'm here anytime you need me. This one right here just says, "My heart hurts for you." This is perfect, and that's also something just great to say to someone. And then this one right here really shook me, because it's also the looks on these little fellas' faces and that they're all banded together, but we are all here for you. Okay, so those are great examples of things that you should say. So what should you avoid? What shouldn't you say? I'm not saying that these are from experience. No one has ever said the wrong thing to me personally. But one of the things, and I have done this in the past, is if you say to someone, "Your dad wouldn't want to see you so sad like this." I am certain that I have said a variation of that to people before, and I have meant well by it. However, when you say that to someone that's going through something, it feels like you're discrediting their emotion. I now know that there are so many things wrong with that statement. Number one, I don't want to be sad, but you know what? I am, and I can't help that. Number two, grieving and crying is important and necessary. And so for someone to say that you shouldn't be doing that is just not helpful. The other thing that I don't like about that statement is that it's sort of like, are you implying that my unhappiness or sadness in this life is making my dad or whoever you've lost in the afterlife, the other side, that it's making them unhappy? Like they're unhappy seeing me unhappy in this life? It's just a weird thing. And so just avoid saying that altogether. The other thing that I don't think is great to say is everything is going to be okay, because you know what? Everything might not be okay. And in that case, refer back to what I said you should say, which are, you are not alone. I am here for you. We love you. You are surrounded by support and love, those types of things. So when is food not helpful? I think food is such a comforting, loving way to show people that you're there for them, but also it's really a helpful thing that someone needs in their life when they're going through something difficult. My mom was so lucky to have a wonderful neighbor who we now refer to as the food fairy. And I have since taken what she did, and I do this to other people as well. And my neighbor has since called me the food fairy, and she sent me back a lovely card saying that she is now going to pay it forward to the next person and be someone else's food fairy. And so that just makes my heart so happy. My mom's neighbor left us like pot pies, quiches, key lime pies, biscuits. I mean, the whole gamut. And I think the entire time that I was with my family when my dad was in hospice, I think the only fresh food that we ate that entire time was food that she had made for us. And so we were so grateful at the end of a really long day to come home and have that food to eat. And so that meant everything to us. If you're someone who doesn't cook or that just feels overwhelming to you, I certainly think a well-placed bag of Panera bagels and ooh, that coffee, you know how Panera has the big coffee? That would be great. And also, after my dad passed away, my old coworkers who I hadn't talked to in quite a while had delivered like these beautiful cupcakes to our house, and I have young kids, and so that was appreciated. And something that another one of my best friends did was she sent me a text that was so brilliant. She sent me a text that said, "I bought the ingredients to make your favorite lasagna. When do you want me to drop it by?" That is genius, because it's sort of saying, I'm already doing this for you. I'm already committed. Like, when is helpful for me to drop this by to you? And that is literally the perfect thing that you could do. I had a friend at one point who dropped by flowers and some chocolates and a card and just left them at my back door. And that was really sweet too. And sometimes I think we think like that a gesture is not big enough, or like, oh, this just doing this little thing isn't really going to make a difference. But the reality is that it's all those little things and big things that people do for you that really get you through and that end up leaving such a huge impression on your heart after it's said and done. Like, you remember all the people who reached out to you, even like people that you haven't talked to in a really long time from high school. And I know I'm going off on a tangent here of what to do, and this is also what to do. And so sometimes you might feel like, I haven't talked to that person in forever. And it's so nice to get messages from people that you haven't talked to in a long time that just reach out to you and send you just a sweet, "Hey, I saw what's been going on. I've been thinking about you, and I want to let you know that you're in my thoughts." It's all of those little messages and little things that you get that I think carry you through, even if it's just for a moment in your day and it's just a second. It's a second that you are like focusing on something good and not something bad. So something that I think is not helpful, and I think people mean well by it, and I have done this and I always mean well by it, is to say to someone, "Hey, I'm here for anything that you need." Or if you just say, "Hey, what can I do to help you?" For someone who's going through something really difficult, like, you're already not in your right mindset. I feel like now you're putting the onus on that person to offer up how you can help them, especially for someone like me who doesn't like to ask for help. So like that text that I said from my friend who just said, "I bought these ingredients. When am I dropping it off to you?" That's really perfect. But also, if you don't know how to help, but you're willing to help in a lot of different ways. So you could say something like, "I know this is going to be a really difficult time for you. And so if it's helpful to you that I help you, if you need me to pick up your kids from school, or you need me to let your dogs out, or you need me to get your mail, or you need me to take the kids for a minute so you can do something, please let me know. I am here for you." And the person that you're offering that up to might not ever have to take you up on it, but trust me that it really will comfort them and put them at ease if you are willing to help them out with that and you let them know. Something else that some people did was a donation in my dad's memory to Stand Up to Cancer. So that was really sweet. And then I have a really good friend who made these really amazing blankets that she gave to me at my dad's funeral for each of my kids. And so it was really nice for my friend to think about my children and to think about that they lost their grandpa. At the time, I was like, oh my gosh, my friend is giving me this beautiful gift on my dad's funeral. Like, am I going to associate this blanket with my dad's funeral? And I don't. I associate it with the love and the grace and beauty of my friend, and that she thought of my kids on that day. Something else that a sweet friend did for me is she sent a really neat box filled with a movie night for my family. And so it had some old Christmas favorites in it, some popcorn, some candy, some snuggly socks for them. And she also got 2 ornaments for my tree that were my dad's initial. And so that was such, like, I was overwhelmed. Like, that was such a beautiful gift. So the final way to be there for someone is maybe kind of specific to certain people, but I just want to say that if you have ever been through something like this and then someone you know goes through it as well, I think it goes without saying that it's really helpful to reach out to the person and tell them that you've been there, you understand it, and that you're there for them. And for me, in my case, it happened with 2 very unexpected people in my life who reached out to me. One was someone that I kind of knew in high school, and I hadn't known her that well. She had gone through something, unfortunately, almost the same a year before. And so she reached out to say, like, "Hey, I really felt alone when I went through this, and I don't want you to feel alone." But that was just so sweet and unexpected, and it's a new friend that I have that I didn't have before. Someone else that came into my life that I didn't expect to was a former coworker. And it wasn't even just a former coworker. It was someone who was ranks higher than me, was a VP at the company I worked for, and I had not reported to, but it sort of felt like that relationship. But this person, unfortunately, went through cancer not once, but twice, and fought brain cancer twice. So it was amazing that this person reached out to me. And like I've said before, we're in the social media age where everyone knows what's going on with you. And between myself, my mom, and my sister, we were all kind of posting updates about my dad during this time to Facebook. And he would see, oh, I heard that, you just got like a biopsy or something happened. He would call me almost every time because I think he knew that I didn't want to reach out and overstep my boundaries and ask him too many things. But he would call me every time and say, okay, now here's what you're going to do. And have you gone for a second opinion? And it really meant a lot to me because I had never been through cancer with someone before. I didn't really know what came along with that. And so he really taught me about what it means to be your own healthcare advocate. It really helped to have his guidance, and it was just such a great support. I haven't wanted to say who any of these people are because I don't want this to be like the Grammy of grief awards, like this person did this and this person did this, and I don't want to feel like I left somebody out. But this person I do want to mention because he's become an author about his experience, and his book I read in under 24 hours. It was such an incredible book about his experience. And it's Rob Atteberry, and his book is Go, 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 Rise, Fall, and Rise Again, the story of cancer. This is him and his wife and his beautiful children. And of course, he signed it for me on the inside. But his attitude and the way that he handled it and his outlook on life, and it's just a really great book. And so he was so wonderful and helpful and supportive to me and my family. And, I think I asked him a stupid question in the beginning, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I don't want to cry in front of my dad. Like, that's probably wrong, right? And he was like, yeah, like my wife, Carrie, was a rock. She never cried in front of me. She was always extremely supportive and extremely like, we're going to fight this. And, and he talks a lot about that in this book, but it just, I don't know. It's all of those little things from people that sort of get you through and got me through. And so I'm just so grateful to all of them. So I hope that this helps you maybe navigate through some difficult conversations to have with people in the future, and it makes you see that honestly, any little thing that you say or do is enough and is important and will make your friend feel supported and loved, and that is what it's all about in the end. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you again in a future video.